We will then now give to Ms. Oyama Botha to make the input before we are going into the discussions with all the delegates or the participants present. Oyama Botha.
Thank you, Honorable Lucas. I did make a submission. Can everyone hear me? Just checking. Okay. Perfect. I did. My name is Oyama Botha. I did make a submission via video because I thought it was going to be very long, but it looks like people don't mind things being long here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just read out.
Mind, but you definitely mind.
Okay.
SKA is a multinational, and we are very interested to see what they are doing, because there is that charge from Pixley people that they don't see what SKA is actually doing. So it was important for us to hear what they are doing. So we do mind time, but you can continue.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd just like to note that I've taken note in terms of what the previous speakers have said in terms of the work that's being done. And obviously there is a bit of critique in terms of what they've presented, but what really stood out the most for me is the fact that there was a lot of highlight in terms of what's great that's being done, and not so much on how can we positively critique what's in the Women's Charter and what's specifically happening with regards to the Northern Cape specifically. So the reviews that I've done were very specific to the Charter in itself. And I looked at the fact that, for instance, the Women's Charter recognizes and respects, and it states the fact that recognition and respect is something that women want. But I'd like to add that it should be something that women need and deserve, and not something that is just looked as women want respect or women want recognition. Women should be given that. But moving forward, I'd just like to state that I am a Black woman from the Northern Cape, and that alone for me has given me two strikes in terms of inequality, because of, first of all, patriarchy because I'm a woman, and two, Blackness because of my racism because I'm Black. So that alone, let alone, is two strikes back in terms of inequality. But I do acknowledge that in the Women's Charter, they do acknowledge the fact that when you look at inequality and equality, there is a reference made where they say that, yes, women can be equal, but then when you look at woman to woman as well, the fact that there's different strikes, like a person can be disabled, woman and Black, then that's 3 strikes already. And those things are things that shouldn't be ignored when decisions are being made. But more so, speaking on the fact that I am in the Northern Cape, and this is a Northern Cape specific team, I'd like to add that we're all aware of the spatial issues that we have based on the apartheid regime. And these have caused very much often institutional racism and inequality that still exists today, because a person can access or not access resources and information based on where they are, you know? And when I look at my journey and where I've gone, and from where I've gone, and looking at the fact that when I apply to universities, for instance, when I tell you of my accolades, one would think that I've had like a very smooth ride. And that's not the case, because I remember even in high school, getting access to information in terms of what you really want to do in varsity. And even moving out of varsity, looking at the fact that there are people saying that there are jobs, but then there isn't information that is even updated. Even in the Northern Cape website, for example, I've been there, there is literally a backwards in terms of information being given to society. So I'd like to also add that in terms of the different articles, I'm just going to touch on them briefly and just add what I can in terms of the experiences and things that I think are very important to take note. So when equality is concerned, I acknowledge, like I said, that how the charter says equality is said to be, right? And that when you have different strikes as a woman, that it pushes you backwards, and that should be something that's acknowledged. And then when you look at law, administration, and justice, I've tied that article with the violence against women article. And so as long as gender-based violence exists in a highly patriarchal society, surely all that they speak about on the point of women demanding equal protection, it will just remain that, just on paper, because how many cases have been swept away when women go and report cases of gender violence and being told that they need to sort out things with their partners, you know? And I even read in one of the materials that were provided that they quoted material from the IPU's 2014 outcome document. And it states that institutional frameworks must be in place and parliaments must be given capacity so that it is strengthened, especially when gender-based violence is concerned, as well as gender inequality. But I did hear a speaker talking about...
conclude.
Yes. Okay, cool. I did hear a speaker talking about lack of capacity. And for me, that is very concerning, considering the fact that there is graduates who are qualified, especially when it comes to issues of policy and making change, specifically within government or within parliament. But it's as if they are not seen, and there is a lot of focus placed on the science, the women in science, but there are women in policy as well who are willing to come in and do the work and capacitate where government is always saying that they lack capacity and coordination in terms of programs that they give out. So in conclusion to all that I've said, I will be submitting all the other points that I think should be included in the charter. But I do believe that the government or parliament in general has to be intentional about prioritizing actions and move away from speaking more on what the challenges are, but more on what has been done, just like SKA has done. I appreciate that very much. And I'd also like to add that...
Thank you, Ms. Botha. I think you are now really taking advantage of my leniency. Thank you very much. We'll leave you there.
Okay, thank you.
To Ms. Asanda Oyama.